All right, now it is time for our next speaker, Hafiz Usman Ghani, who is a guest researcher at Technical University of Denmark. His research interests include life cycle assessment, absolute sustainability, and SDGs. And he is developing innovative tools and indicators for sustainability based on scientific targets. He has a wide experience of research and development, strategic planning, and policy formulation for sustainable consumption and production, including the circular economy. His session titled How Sustainable is Bioenergy? Evaluating the performance of bagasse and bioethanol energy in Pakistan is about to begin. So let's begin.
Thank you very much, and it's a great pleasure for me to talk with the young, inspiring people from across the world. And today, I'm talking about that how sustainable is bioenergy, and I will be sharing with you some of the research that I'm doing and the practical results that I'm getting about the gas-based electricity and bioethanol fuel in Pakistan. So to start with, the first question is that what is sustainability? The United Nations Brundtland Commission, it has defined it as meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. So what it means that sustainability is something that can sustain, and we wanted to avoid resource utilization and environmental impacts to such an extent that it, it is going to affect the quality life of future generations. So the sustainability has three pillars that are economy, society, and environment that we used to say profit, people, and planet. So the next question is that how we can evaluate this sustainability, if something is really sustainable or not. So here we have a tool uh, where in life cycle sustainability assessment, we can evaluate the potential environmental, social, economic uh, impacts of the products, systems, or services over their life cycle. So if a life cycle of a product, it has been shown here, and you can see that the life cycle, it starts from the resource extraction, where we extract the resources and then we use those resources for the production of our products, and those products, they will be then distributed for the use, and in the use phase we will have the operation and maintenance and reuse of the products, and then in the end we will have the recycling of the products, or end of the life cycle of the products. So we have different types of studies in the life cycle sustainability assessment. Those studies, they can be from cradle to grave. That means that we will be analyzing the whole life cycle of the product, that is like from resource extraction until the end of life of the products. Or we will have cradle to gate, where we will analyze only the part from where we will extract the resources until the production of the product. Or we can analyze the products only for cradle to cradle. That means only the production stage of the product. So now I will share some of the practical results of my research about the environmental and economic sustainability assessment of gas-based electricity. Here I have shown a life cycle of bagasse-based electricity production, where in the first we will have the cane harvesting that will be used then in the sugar milling stage, where we will produce bagasse, that is a byproduct in the production process of sugar, and that bagasse we will use in the high pressure cogeneration power plants to produce the electricity. And during the whole process we will be using different chemicals, materials, and we will be getting different co-products as well. So when I analyze this process, so the results are shown here, and they are quite interesting results. That when we produce the gas-based electricity, so it has some of the environmental impacts compared to the grid mix electricity. For instance, considering the global warming, fine particulate matter formation, terrestrial acidification, fossil resource scarcity, human health, resource availability, or environmental prices. So then the gas-based electricity is better than the grid mix electricity. And one very interesting thing is about the environmental prices. Like when we compare the conventional price or the cost of gas based bioelectricity with the grid mix electricity, that is the conventional electricity mostly coming from the fossil based fuels. So conventionally the gas based electricity is costly than the grid mix electricity, but when we include the environmental cost, so then in that case environmental by including the environmental price, we find that the gas based electricity is cheaper than the grid mix electricity. However, there are some of the impacts categories, environmental impacts, where the environmental impacts of the gas based electricity, they are higher than the grid mix electricity. For instance, the eutrophication, land use, and human health in these and water consumption in these impact categories, the environmental impacts of gas-based electricity, they are higher than the grid mix electricity, because they are mainly coming from the agriculture stage, and we know that bagasse or sugarcane, it's an agriculture product, and then we have these impacts coming from there. There is another interesting study that I have conducted on environmental sustainability assessment of molasses based bioethanol fuel in Pakistan. The same as bagasse based electricity, the whole life cycle of molasses based bioethanol production I have shown here, where we will have the sugar cane farming that will be processed in the sugar milling, where we will have molasses uh, as a byproduct of sugar. That molasses will be used for the production of bioethanol that will be blended with gasoline as 10% blend, and then it will be distributed and burned in the vehicle for use. So when I got the results of two products, that is conventional gasoline, that is the petrol we used to say, and then E10, that is 10% the 10% blend of bioethanol with gasoline. So what I found that the environmental impacts of E10, they are the performance is better than the conventional gasoline for the global warming, human carcinogenic toxicity, and fossil resource scarcity. But for the terrestrial acidification and freshwater eutrophication, the impacts of bioethanol, they are higher than the uh, gasoline. And other aspect that I have seen there, it's about the water energy food nexus. The nexus approach that has been shown here, you can see that we have bioethanol in the center, and then we have energy footprints, water scarcity footprints, and ecological footprints on the nodes. And then in the center, we have the global warming potential that we used to say carbon footprint. And then along with these footprints analysis, we have also conducted an energy analysis. So the results have been shown here, and you can see that when we produce bioethanol, we have quite like environmental impacts. Normally, we see that we consider that because it's bioenergy, so maybe it's not having impacts, but it's not the case. Like we can see that when we produce 1,000 liter of bioethanol, we will have some carbon footprint, that is GHG emission around 546 kilogram CO2 equivalent. Then we will also have the water scarcity footprint, that is around 1,547 meter cube of water equivalent. Then ecological footprint that actually shows the use of land, like for 1,000 liter of bioethanol, we require around 2,907 meter square area of land. Then we also have the energy footprint, that means that we require a lot of energy for the production of bioethanol. But there are two other indicators from the energy analysis, that are energy ratio and renewability. So the energy ratio, it shows the value is 2.85. So it means that when we introduce 1 unit of energy in the bioethanol system, we get around 3 megajoule of 3 unit of energy as the output. So it's mean that we are the input is only one unit of energy, but we are getting 3 units of energy. So it means that it is giving us energy benefits. The same is the case for the renewability, where we will get around 6 units of energy of renewable energy by the input of only 1 unit of fossil energy. Then the nexus has been shown here, and it has been described for 3 of them. That is bioethanol energy nexus, then bioethanol food nexus, then bioethanol water nexus. So it's quite interesting that when we see the bioethanol energy nexus, so we found that bioethanol itself is a energy, is an energy source, so it's a biofuel, but it requires energy in its production. And then it also has a lot of energy co-products that are produced in its life cycle. For instance, in the sugarcane production, we will have the cane trash that can be used as a fuel, and then we will also have the bagasse at the sugar milling stage that can be used as a fuel. Then we also have biogas that is being produced from the wastewater of bioethanol plant. When we see the nexus of bioethanol food, then again we found that bioethanol itself is a food source, but it also has different food products in its life cycle, that is like sugar and molasses. Sugar is a human food, and then molasses is an animal food. Then bioethanol, because it's a fuel source, it's a source of energy, so it can be used in the production of food. And then we have the competition of different resources that bioethanol is using. For instance, it is using water, it is using land, and these resources, they are also being required by the other food products. So the third nexus is about the bioethanol water, and we found that bioethanol requires water in its production, that is mainly being used in its agriculture state for the for the production of sugar cane. But it also has the impact in terms of wastewater that is being produced at sugar milling stage and then at the bioethanol production stage. But the thing is that it can also be used as an energy source for producing water. So it's quite an interesting thing that bioethanol itself, how it's interacting with the energy, with food, and with water. So what we can get from these results, so this has been shown here. For instance, we as we have seen that the both the bagasse and molasses, they are coming actually from the sugar cane. And sugar cane, it's like a food product normally, but it is a source of both energy and food products. Energy products include bioethanol, bagasse, and bagasse-based electricity, and food products, it includes the sugar. And it requires different resources, that is it requires a fertile land, it requires energy, and it requires fresh water, agrochemicals, industrial chemicals, etc. And the resources, these are interconnected with each other. Like one resource required the other thing. For instance, energy required water, and water required energy, that we have seen earlier. So these resources are interconnected, and they compete with each other. For instance, one product, resource is being used for the production of food, and it is also being for the production of fuel. So E10, that we have seen, that is a 10% blend of bioethanol. For instance, in Pakistan, it has the potential to replace around 7% of gasoline consumption in the country, and it has significant benefits in terms of its energy performance, that is high net energy ratio and renewability that we have seen earlier. The same is the case for the gas-based electricity, that it could be a promising option for Pakistan. But we have to see the trade-off situation that I have just represent you, that some of the environmental impacts of these bioenergy sources, that is gas-based electricity and bioethanol fuel, for them the environmental impacts, so they are less than the traditional energy or the fossil energy. But for the other environmental impacts, so their performance is inferior to the fossil based energy. So hence, if we consider only one aspect, for instance, if we only consider the global warming potential, so then we are going in unavoidable environmental consequences. So this is very important that whenever we are talking about like GHG emission is quite famous these days, but this is not the only environmental impact that we are going to encounter. Yes, sure, we know that this is a big issue that our world is facing, but this is not the only issue. We have other issues like the biodiversity loss, then the water issue. We have different other issues. So whenever we are making any policy, whenever we are like making any decision, so we have to see all the aspects, we have to see all the stages, and we have to see a holistic approach compared to only seeing one aspect. And then nexus management is recommended. That I have seen that I have shown you that we have a nexus of water, energy, and food. So whenever, especially if we are going for the bio-based energy, so we have to see the nexus, and then we have to manage the nexus in such a way that we can maximize the synergies and we can minimize the trade-offs. So I will end my presentation with a great saying from scientist John Rockstrom. So he has said that we take it for granted the world that we love, and we are destroying it so quickly. The light of dawn on the prairie, the silvery flash of fish in a stream, the cry of a hawk over a forest. Everybody has their own idea of beautiful, and we will surely miss it when it is gone. So the time to act is now. This is the decade of action, and we have to act now. That's all from my side. Thank you very much. And this is time for questions and answers. If you have any question now, please ask it now, or if you wanted to reach me out later, so you are welcome for it. Thank you very much.
Indeed. Thank you, Hafiz, for that very informative session. There was once again lots of praise and thanks in the comments. And I personally did not know much about the gas based energy before this. And I think it was great how you were able to analyze the pros and cons of these different types of energy. And there's so many different aspects to take into account. And your points about looking at this from a holistic approach is incredibly true. So thank you for bringing that to light for us. If anyone does have questions, you can put those in the chat or reach out to Hafiz personally, as mentioned. But as we are running a bit short on time, I would now like to pass the mic on to Amy, a hardworking fellow research conference organizer who will be guiding you for the next couple of sessions.